So is this an involuntary tick, or does accountability just not matter? Because at the 2026 BAFTA Awards, something happened that left everybody's jaws on the ground.
Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
We're here to celebrate.
So just to be clear, that was definitely a hard ER that you just heard. And that came from John Davidson. He was a guest there to promote his movie, I Swear. And if you didn't know, he has Tourette's. But that doesn't erase the impact. And on that stage, you had Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo.
I think Chuck is pointing out a double standard here, Adrian. Take hip-hop. We've talked about this on the show before. You have African-American rappers saying N-word this and N-word that, but a Caucasian can't.
So say it.
Say what?
Say the word you want to say.
I'm not saying that I want to say it. I'm just saying that I can't.
Sure you can. Say it. Say it right now.
Two professionals who had to basically endure that moment. Now here's the kicker. They had more than enough time to edit it, but they didn't. So let's talk about accountability when something like this gets through.
This that raymundoreacts, huh? Y'all came in for the laughs, huh? You did. Stay for the commentary cause it makes sense, huh? Real talk.
That boy is good.
Some people aren't going to like this take. I could really care less. A disability is not an excuse for racism. That clip of Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo getting called the hard R by a man with Tourette's as they're presenting an award is mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling, number one, because they were able to keep their composure so well. I don't think most people would have been able to do that in that situation. And number two, because of the conversation people are having right now. Because before people even had a chance to digest what happened, I've seen people run to this guy's defense saying, oh, that's just how the condition is. They can control what they say. You know, they're not trying to offend anyone. And that could be true. And what's also true is that the entire internet just saw these two black men who were just trying to do their job and present an award get called a slur in front of an entire audience. I find it very funny that in all of the statements surrounding this situation, all of the understanding that people are seeking from, they're all saying, oh, we're so glad that the audience has understanding. We're so glad that the audience was able to, you know, deal with this. And not the two people that were actually called slurs. Why am I not seeing any public apologies? Because these black men were publicly disrespected, yet I'm seeing a bunch of people, the Sun included, going on to say, oh, well, you know, it's not something that you can control and it's not supposed to be anything offensive, so people shouldn't take offense to it. Well, when I accidentally step on someone's shoe and, you know, I didn't mean to actually step on their shoe, I didn't mean to disrespect them or harm them in any way, I still think, you know, I should apologize because I still inconvenienced them. I still hurt them. You know, I still, you know, maybe could have disrespected them. And we just saw these two black men get called a slur in front of the entire internet has now seen this. Yet I'm seeing people say, oh, you know, well, what reason does he have to apologize? He shouldn't have to apologize. And if this is something that his family is very aware of, that they knew is uncontrollable and could happen, he shouldn't have been there. I'm sorry to say that, but the hurt that he gets from not being able to see his son win an award in person does not outweigh the hurt that he causes by calling these two black men the hard R in public. Like, what are we talking about?
Now, I would honestly disagree with this first take. I don't think a lot of people would have got out of pocket. I know it was a shocking situation, but they're both professionals. But I will say this, it does seem like most people get a pass when it comes to racism, especially dealing with black people. And they had the nerve to say that racism doesn't exist in 2026. Shit. Now that we've discussed the impact, let's dive into the comments of somebody associated with the film, I Swear, their perspective, and what they thought was intended.
This was obviously very important for Tourette syndrome as well. Tonight, John Davidson was there, and in the broadcast, you could hear him shouting quite a lot, and some words that people will have found offensive. But
yeah.
What would you say about that?
Well, first of all, they're ticks. He's ticking, and we have to understand that the way we perceive Tourette's is a joint responsibility. You know, it's not shouting obscenities. It's not being abusive. It's Tourette's and they're ticks. And so if it can lead to a deeper understanding of Tourette's syndrome and what ticks actually are, then I think if our movie is a part of that conversation, then that's a really incredible thing.
So after hearing that, do you feel like the explanation is valid, or Does the absence of an immediate apology mean there's no excuse? Let me know in the comments. Because now we add a different dimension. In this next clip, I have a black woman who lives with Tourette's, and she weighs in.
As a black woman with Tourette syndrome, I think I have valuable information to add to the discourse about the BAFTAs incident with John Davidson and Michael B. Jordan and Delroy. So I've made videos about this in the past. This comment is from a video that I made 3 years ago that is kind of active again because I talked about coprolalia, which is the tic in Tourette syndrome that causes people to say obscene things, socially inappropriate things, culturally inappropriate things. I've seen a lot of discourse, and I just kind of want to bring some education and shed some light. Is number one, a lot of people are saying that it seemed like that was the only time that John Davidson ticked, right when it was silent and right when it was perfect for him to say the N-word. That was the only time he ticked. Obviously, I was not there to see if he ticked throughout the rest of the show or not, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's true. A lot of times there might be motor tics that are going on, which is movement that we might not see because obviously the camera is elsewhere throughout the show. There might have been other vocal tics that he had said that were a bit more muffled. He might have gotten up and gone to the bathroom to let out a bunch of tics in the bathroom before coming back. I know I've done that, and I know a lot of my friends with Tourette syndrome have done that as well. So we don't necessarily know. And sitting there and assuming that that's the only time he ticked is also giving the impression that you're assuming that he did it on purpose, which brings me to my second point. A lot of people are saying they understand that, you know, Tourette syndrome is involuntary and he can't control it, but he shouldn't have said that. That's conflicting. You are now saying that you don't understand what involuntary and uncontrollable means because you cannot control it. Now, I completely understand the complexity and duality of the situation of, you know, John Davidson having this tic, and even though it was unintentional, involuntary, it's still being harmful. Obviously, as a black woman, I get it, especially in the times that we are in, politically and just in our world today. 100% understand that the intention doesn't mean that the harm or the hurt wasn't there. 100% understand that concept, which is why I feel that we should be focusing on the BAFTA's editing team as to why that was kept. Because I learned that they are pre-recorded earlier in the day, and then they look at every single second and choose what to keep and what to cut out. And people have said that there were other statements, such as political statements that people voluntarily made that were cut out, yet they chose to take a moment that was probably incredibly embarrassing for the person with Tourette syndrome, and as everybody is agreeing, incredibly hurtful for Michael B. Jordan and Delroy, and probably shocking to everybody in the room, obviously, and said, we're going to keep that.
So we've heard from somebody involved, we've heard from somebody who has Tourette's, but what does the internet have to say? This should be good.
All I'm gonna say is that if I wasn't black and I had Tourette's and I saw a black guy and then my Tourette started acting up and I had a tic that caused me to yell the N-word at him, the next thing that I would say after that would be, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I have Tourette's, I didn't mean it, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. But that didn't happen, so like,
Look, maybe this is just me, but I feel like if this didn't happen to two black folks, an apology would have happened sooner. You know, maybe the editing team wouldn't have made this so-called mistake.
What I don't understand is why through every condition and disease y'all remember racism. I'm confused. Why? That's the one thing. You can't remember your sister's face. You don't know who your husband is. You ain't never seen him before, but you can remember to call your caretaker a nigga. Huh? I'm just saying, condition or not, that man saw two black men on the stage and that word was available to him. And I went to school with somebody with Tourette, so I don't want to hear that shit. Because he never said that. He never said that shit to me. And he would hang with us because other people would make him feel bad for having Tourette. So he stood around and hung around the black people. He was safe there. We understood he had Tourette. He never said that shit. You have to have certain words available to your ass. You gotta be saying that shit on the low.
What I don't understand is that why are we not hearing any apologies? Because we're hearing and seeing black people getting called the hard R, but I'm not seeing any apologies. I mean, he clearly understands why you would be labeled a racist for saying it, or why people would take offense to it, because it's a deeply offensive word. I mean, it's the same reason why the little racists DMing me trying to defend him are calling me that, because they understand what that word means.
Let's call a spade a spade. This is learned behavior. Like, I don't think he came out the womb dropping a hard ER, or maybe he did. Maybe it has something to do with DNA. But I'm thinking more so family members, friends, peers, colleagues. Like, I feel like these are the conversations that they're having. And the excuse, well, it was half-assed. Basically, get over it. But I guess if these conversations weren't being had in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have came up. But maybe that's me saying the quiet part out loud. So after hearing it all, does intent matter, or is it all about the impact? Let me know down below. And until next time, if you enjoyed the content and you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that sub button to the right and to the left. More dope content for you. Until next time, I'm out.
This that Raymundo reacts, huh? Y'all came in for the laughs, huh? You did. Stay for the commentary, cause it makes sense, huh? Real talk.
That boy is good.